Okay, we are at the halfway point of the course, which means we must take an assessment to see where we are with this. So we don't need to. Well, I mean, I know, but I wouldn't want to shortchange you with all this stuff we've done. I just want to make sure that you get a chance to show off. So here's how it's going to work. I will the assessment, and it is under assessments on D2L, by the way. It will be open from all day Monday through all day Friday. I think I've set it to open up on Monday morning like 12:01 a.m. and I think I've set it to close at Friday night, I believe, like 11:59 p.m. I'll give you an option. Some of you like to come to class in person. That's fine. If you want to come to class and take the pencil or the paper version of it, let me know that, and I will set a time for you to come do that. If you don't happen to catch me, I will leave it with instructions for that to be given to you. So if you will send me an email by the end of this week if you want to take it in person, and I'll make those arrangements. Otherwise, it's available online. It is accessible during those times that I mentioned, and I have set a 2-hour time limit. I don't know that it's ever taken anyone 2 hours, so time should not be a factor. If it is, let me know, and I'll think about what could possibly consider the likelihood of doing. I don't know, but I don't anticipate that to be an issue. Yeah, and every time I say that, somebody always says, "Well, I'm going to be the first." Well, so far nobody has been. Okay, well you can try if you want to, but you could have to try pretty hard. I've got. I told you I had to be ready to do that, so you want to see it? So far, so good. Want me to turn around? Oh, you mean you want me to turn it over? Really, you want to see it? And the camera's not good enough. That's going to do you a bit of good. All right, so I'm sorry. That's just one of the fun things about being a professor. I want to talk about. I want to talk about two aspects of it. I want to talk about both format and content. Which do you want to hear first? Okay. I hear format. I see a nod, and somebody said format on chat. This happens every time. My sister's calling. I think I'll make her wait. Yeah, okay. Somebody's calling to fuss at me, probably. Well, I'm sure she's calling to fuss at me, actually. Okay. I always want to talk about format first. Yet, when I start talking about format, if I don't ask, people will say, well, we want to hear the content. So I just ask, you'll say what I want you to say, and I get to do what I want to do anyway. So thanks. Anyway, the format is, it is, oh my goodness. Wow. What's that, 5 pages? Stop the count after 3. Yeah, it's 5 pages. Now I don't. You might can see close enough to tell something about this. The front page. Yeah, the front page is it's multiple choice. The format is there are 30 items. The first 25 of which are multiple choice. The last 5 items, 26 through 30, and there's more than one part to some of these, but the numbers 26 through 30 are short essay / short answer. Now, I am going to read the instructions to you. Respond to each item. No response should require more than a short paragraph. There are a couple places I ask for examples. Do not use examples discussed in class or the textbooks. I started having to say that after I got things parroted back to me. My point, one of my points here is that I don't want a big, long, nasty essay. You don't want to write one, and I sure as heck don't want to read one. Again, you want me to be in a good mood when I grade these things. So I don't want me just get to the point. Tell me what you need to. When I ask you for an example of something, yeah, it may take you 3 or 4 sentences to do that, but but I hope you're able to in more than that, or in no more than that, because it's not intended to be. If I'm asking you what time it is, don't tell me how to build a watch, as the old saying goes. So any questions about format? The multiple choice items are worth 3 points each. The short essay / short answer items are worth 5 points. So there's a little heavier weight on the things that you have to come up with an answer on. Questions already been asks is what kind of calculations we have to do. You need to know simple things that we've routinely calculated by hand. Like, for example, I think it's reasonable to expect you know how to calculate a mean. I mean, that's not rocket surgery. You knew that before you came to class. We calculated z-scores by hand for a long time before we ever asked SPSS to do that. So that kind of thing is important. We went over some other formulas that I told you you'd never have to use again as far as I'm concerned. One of them was standard deviation. We did it one time just to kind of show you how it worked, but we had the lazy person's way of making SPSS do that. So you don't have to remember the standard deviation formula. Now you have to know what standard deviation means and how you interpret it. So those are the kind of questions I'm going to ask you about. You do enough calculations in class for the homework. The midterm is not a calculation-based instrument primarily. I ask you things about those things. So any other questions about format per se? We're moseying into content now. Let me just kind of go over, and I'll just kind of give you the main topics as I see they're here, and you can ask whatever questions you want about it. We talked about different kinds of statistics, what statistics do. I love review day because you're all writing like crazy, like this is the first time you've ever heard any of this. It is not, but okay. We talked about different kinds of variables and different classifications of variables. We talked about what do I want to say about that? I'll give you an example on some of those. Which of the following variables would be a certain kind of variable? We talked about standard deviation. As I said, I've already said that already. And what it means, how variability factors into things like standard scores. We talked about standard scores. We talked a good bit about the normal curve, characteristics of the normal curve, the plus and minus 1, 2, and 3 standard deviations, and the corresponding portions of the area of 68, 95, approximately 68, 95, and 99% respectively. And the same distribution goes for not just plus and minus standard deviations, but plus and minus standard errors, because error is also normally distributed. Okay, I mentioned standard scores, specifically z-scores. There are, if you read the chapter, and I'm hoping you're at least going to pretend you did, Z was not the only kind of standard score. There's something called a t-score. We're not going to use that because, quite honestly, it's not as useful. It just gives you a standard score with a different mean and different standard deviation. But z-score is the standard score. I'm not going to ask you anything about t-scores. We talked about correlation, telling you both strength and direction. We talked about the way you show pictures of correlation, like the scatter plot. We talked about sample selection, random selection, a little bit about random assignment, but mostly randomness in terms of selection. We talked about probability in a couple of different contexts. The one we talked about, the keywords like and or, sometimes not. And we also we use that to springboard into the p-values, which also has to do with probability. So calculating probability, interpreting probability. We talked about the standard deviation of the mean, which probably was the most confusing topic to most of you based on your feedback. So I asked a very general question or two about that. Again, that's in the multiple choice section, so I'll just tell you that. We talked about hypothesis testing. Talked about the null hypothesis and whether to reject or not reject the null hypothesis. We talked about levels of significance, using most often the 0.05 level of significance. We talked about critical value. For example, if we're using the 0.05 level of significance and we're running a two-tailed test, the critical value would be 1.96. We've seen that probably more than any other situation. So critical values of 1.96 if there's a two-tailed 0.05 level test. That is a two-tailed test, yes. What is it for a two-tailed 0.01 level significance test? We've already used that too a number of times. 2.58, yeah, every time. No. I don't see it so far. You know what I forgot to put on here? I knew I'd forget something. I didn't ask you about type 1 and type. I'm just telling you right now, I'm not asking about type 1 and type 2 errors. I should have. That's an oversight on my part. Sorry about that. I'll try to. You'll be happy for me to fix that next semester, probably. So I'll just tell you that. Confidence intervals. The way confidence intervals, error, and n work together. For example, the larger the n, the narrower the confidence interval is, the less the error is. The less the error is, the narrower the confidence interval is. One more word about confidence intervals while we're there. A good example, and I probably should have said this early on, is that in election years you see political polls plus or minus 3%. That's a confidence interval. So it really does have something to do with in the real world. Oh, I don't think I mentioned measure of central tendency yet, have I? Mean, median, and mode. Know what those are, how to get them, that sort of thing. I mentioned classifications of variables. Mentioned the normal curve. That's about all I've got. Everything on the assessment can fit under one of those umbrellas. I'll take specific questions. For example, someone's asking about taking the test, and no, the question was, will we print it off and scan a PDF, kind of like you do your homework? No, you don't do that. You take it on the, if you go to the D2L site, it will pop up the questions and let you respond online. I will mention one more thing there. On the content section, there is a no help statement I'm just going to ask everybody to sign. So go to the content section, and there are two of them. There's one for the midterm, one for the final. Click on that no help form, and that says you're being honest and you're not getting or receiving help, that sort of thing. No, print it off, sign it, scan it, and put it in. I think I've got a Dropbox for it. The Dropbox seemed to be working pretty well this time. I don't think I've had any problem with it. Usually I have a problem with somebody during the semester, and usually way before now. So it seems to be, I don't know if there were bugs that are worked out, or maybe I'm doing something right. I don't know. I can't imagine that's the case, but yeah, I think I've got a Dropbox for that. So sign the no help, and you can if you want, you can just type your name in some kind of fancy handwriting font if you want. The submission indicates that that's kind of an electronic signature. So if you don't want to just print it and scan it, that's fine. But yeah, I will ask that you submit those back. Statement was that you don't see a Dropbox. If I don't think to make a Dropbox for that, email it to me. Or if anybody wants to remind me to make a Dropbox for that, and I didn't remember if I had or not, but thanks for pointing that out. If you want to email me and remind me to do that, I will probably remember to. Any other questions? Because I don't have much more that I want to say about it. I mean, again, I will answer specific questions to some degree. The comment was made, we could just add the no help thing to the midterm. Actually, you can't because, again, the way the midterm, you're not going to print the midterm. You're going to fill it out online, click these boxes. And by the way, you want me to tell you some of the answers to these things, the items? I'm going to tell you some answers. A, B, C. So those are a lot of the answers. You can just get the right one in the right place. You got most of it whipped. We could calculate the probability. It's not good for guessing. It's not. The SPSS will not be required for this. No. What's a good question? Oh. No, I didn't see that. No, thank you, because I already got another question. No notes or text. It's an open mind test. I hope you have opened your book sometime before then. That's part of the no help statement. And the other question is, will the questions come together or one at a time? I think they come up. They come up all together, so you can go back and change something if you want to. It's a yes, a document. You like just click in the boxes or the circles or whatever. Yeah, I think you can move around if you like to. And some people like to do things in different orders. Now the topics are kind of grouped together. Questions? Well, you need to calculate things by hand on the side. There will be a couple of things that will require some very light calculations. Yeah, you can use scrap paper for that. No, I don't want it. No, well, the question was, do you need to send that in? I don't remember what the format looked like. Generally, no, but if I see work and you've got something wrong, I'll give you partial credit. So if you want to email me a scratch sheet, I'll take that into consideration if something's wrong. I can find some points. I don't think there's room to do that on the test itself. I don't believe. I'm not quite sure I even know how to do that. That's a good question. Good questions. Know something about scatter plots. Now let me give you a bit of a speech, and I'll still answer questions. But before I forget, let me give you my what if you blow it speech. Let's do the math, as I am prone to do. How many points in this course? Yeah, how many points available? No, the whole course. It's a big number. Well, relatively speaking. Okay, you're gonna go look. 500. 500 points. This is worth 100 points. Yeah, you asked about guessing a minute ago. If you guess a few of them right, You're probably not going to make 10 on it. Out of 500 points, 200 points are test-based, which means the majority is not. If you blow it, what does that mean? No, the answer. The wrong answer, oh, we need to drop out. You might make a C. You might. I could probably count the number of people on one hand who have made a C in this course over years, several years. Here's what might happen if you blow this. You might not make an A. The second part of my speech is entitled, I don't care if you make an A. The first subheading of that is, you shouldn't either. Let's say you don't make an A in this course. So what? It's not like you're going to apply to a higher degree program somewhere down the road, are you? No. You know what they call the person who has made the worst, who's written the worst dissertation in the whole department? Doctor. So free yourself, exactly. Free yourself of the burden of having to be a perfectionist. You don't have to make an A. You're not. If you come to me, I've got to get this right because I've got to make an A. It's not going to get anywhere with me. I don't care if you make an A or not. I care if you pass. I care if you learn something. I don't care if you make an A. You shouldn't either. Now take it seriously. Remember that curvilinear relationship between test performance and anxiety level? Have enough anxiety to be productive, but not so much it knocks you out. You don't have to make an A. Who cares besides you? So I just need to put it in its proper perspective. So that's my what if you blow it speech. And I'll probably give that 3 or 4 more times the rest of the semester too. Any other questions? Otherwise, that's kind of my bit for the night. So next week, take the midterm. Again, until call me, visit me, email me, whatever you want to if you have questions between now and then. So midterm next week, and we will not convene until the syllabus says we convene officially again because we've got another break coming up.